and welcome. My name is Jennifer Regular. I am a soul-centered empowerment coach at Lighting the Path and also your host here at the Wisdom Speakers and Seekers podcast. This is one of the platforms where I love to just be and gather with people from around this planet who are really what some would call speakers, I call messengers, helping us to further embody our truth, to be who we came here to be and do what we came here to do. And today I am delighted to have a fellow Canadian with me, Michael Challenger, zooming in from Toronto, Canada right now. And I'm in the West Coast in Victoria, BC. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. So super excited to be here.
Absolutely. And let me tell you a little bit about Michael before we get started. He was born and raised in Montreal, Canada. And this peaceful warrior's passionate curiosity and zest for life began at a very young age. Through spirituality, yoga, and zest for life, he also became a healthy eater, went through physical training, and this challenger spends his time on the planet becoming more centered every day. He is the CEO and founder of the Optimal Living Summit. He is also the best-selling author of Don't Let Fear Paralyze You, a certified life coach, and the creator of the No Fear online program. The majority of his life was spent as a triple threat professional performer, including all areas of theater, dance, film, and television. He has traveled the world as a performer, a teacher, an award-winning director, choreographer, and producer. But it wasn't always that way. Michael had to face his deepest fears by transforming his life and learned from some of the great leaders like Bob Proctor, Daisaku Aikida, etc. Once he got clear with his personal mission in life, he helps people every day by coaching them to live and reach their purest and highest potential. And today, I'm so happy that he's here to help us tackle those limited beliefs. So again, Michael, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Sounds like you've already done a lot in life and just keep going. And that's the way it is for us when we can just step into that pure potential and use that passion rather than obligation to fuel our journey. And like you said, it's not always that way, though. You had a lot of fear and that would essentially paralyze you. But then there was these mentors that helped you through it and guide you. And now you've become one of them yourself. But what lit your path? What really illuminated the way that you were meant to go in this lifetime?
So again, thank you so much for having me here. And it's just amazing. Again, thank you for providing this platform to really help others to, look at themselves, take an introspective moment to figure out what it is that, that they are meant to do and living an authentic life. Yes. I think that for me, it's been my I think the biggest dream is to constantly show up and be who Michael is meant to be. And so I don't actually know when it took shape, when I decided from this idea of being a performing artist to then wanting to guide others to really be happy. I think that it sounds, again, like everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants to experience love, happiness, but how we get there, it's a case-by-case situation. Mm-hmm. And so when I started to understand that as a messenger, as you mentioned earlier on, that when I was being directed to tell different stories, whether it was stage, whether it was on camera, I felt really, and I always get connected to the actual, the producer director, and what do you want me to do? But then when you're young and you're hungry for work, you just want to work. Like that's, you're not really, sometimes, not everybody, some people are very aware when they're very, very young about projects. But as time went on, I realized, I just want to be associated with things that actually help to elevate others to see themselves. And that for me, and so it's interesting because my life to this day, I'm still very much, I understand the power of media. I understand the power of when somebody is in front of a show, a documentary, anything that is being presented to people in the comfort of their own home, that one conversation can change the trajectory of somebody's life.
Yes.
And so understanding that and going, moving to Los Angeles and studying, production and going into that world, it was mind blowing because I had already been a part of the world of the performing arts and getting, the regular clapping your hand, like, congratulations, really good job. And so that temporary kind of validation feels good for a minute, but then it's not what personally drives me forward in life. Right. It's so much more when it's, receiving accolades or being recognized is great, but then it's when you go to your own, you're in your bed, whether you're with somebody in bed or not, you're still in reflection as to, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? And that's kind of the dialogue that kept, running through my mind. So, to answer your question, I feel like it's on all the various platforms that I've placed myself, I've always had leaders push me to, like, are you, is this your truth, Michael? Is this what you want to be doing? Like, go revisit that. Go think about it again. So whether it's faith, whether it's business, any of the things that I associate myself with every single day, that self-validation is really what I seek. And that's what I work on all the time.
Yes. Incredible. And do you remember that aha moment where you thought, yes, this is what I'm meant to do? And you feel that in every cell of your body just light up because you know that this is what you're meant to do.
Yeah, I think that when I was living in Vancouver, BC, like, the specific time isn't necessarily clear, but my relationship in BC was interesting because it forced me to look at myself. When I immersed myself, you can't live in Vancouver and not connect with nature, right? Like, it's impossible. It's everywhere. So, you yourself living in Victoria, BC, the power of nature is so incredible. And so when I would connect with Mother Nature on many levels, my awareness and who I was started to shift in ways where there was less distraction. The oxygen that I was breathing, the exchange with Mother Nature was really incredible. And the people that I met, that being associated with certain communities and just understanding that there's something bigger for me to do. And so it was hard because, doesn't matter what area you're in, like, I talk my life, great, performing arts is one thing, but whatever archetype or business that you've been in, we create this identity of who we are in the world. And when you have to disconnect from that, it's always hard to transition into what it is that I'm like, what am I really doing? And so Vancouver put me in that situation where I had to almost research, re-identify, reprogram all of the different things to start out over to go after what I really wanted.
Which is what?
Well, now for me, it's a fusion of faith and being able to raise the vibration of humanity.
Yes.
I think that everything that I do, because it's really, I feel like there's been I've worn a lot of hats. And when I think about all of the different responsibilities I've had to take in my life, whether it's producing, whether it's directing, whether it's acting, whether it's like all the different things that overwhelm people, because they're like, how do you do all these different things? When I come back to this, as being in this vessel, being, I'm connecting to my soul purpose. When I connect to the soul purpose in my life, I realize that no matter where I am, or where I invest my time and energy, my sole purpose is to raise the vibration of humanity. So that could be through storytelling, that could be through coaching, that could be through writing, that could be all the different things that I've learned and collected along the way. These are some of the things that I'm able to do now that creates Michael, or puts me in a very unique situation. And so now I celebrate that, because what in the past it was always like, well, maybe I'm too much, maybe it's too much of this, and maybe it's too much of that. And it's like, no, it's fine just the way that it is, and that people will experience something with me, and they'll experience something with Jennifer, and none of those experiences are to be looked upon or frowned upon. It's how does that feel, and hopefully you gain something from it.
Yes. And what I'm hearing too in that is that you went from a role to role way of interacting and being in the world to being soul to soul and having more connection, with nature and with your purpose and raising the vibration of the planet. And one of the things we both know that holds people back are those limiting beliefs. So what kind of beliefs actually limit people, and how can we tackle those? How do we break through those, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, this topic is really interesting, and the timing is really interesting because, I've been talking a little bit, tackling limiting beliefs to different people. A couple of weeks ago, I was invited to I was at the National Women's Show, and it was my second time actually speaking to a group of women, and I absolutely love it because I always, when I stand in front of women, and I feel the exchange of what women give, it's incredible. I always say, like, women are change makers in so many ways, because it's like women take the information and they take it and they go back home and they're like, okay, guys, like, let's go, like, let's do something about, not that guys don't do this, but it's just, there's that the power of as a woman, as a nurturer, as a leader, of being able to bring it back to the family and really provide that, what they've learned. So I spoke, it was 2 days of speaking to different women. And one day was, blew my mind, with people crying in the audience, on stage, and just being able to have intimate moments in the public of people wanting to challenge those tackling beliefs, and to understand how our narrative of self really keeps us limited on so many levels. And what happens is that when we get ourselves into situations, when we're in our, we have to, in many ways, take responsibility for the environment that we create, right? We can't, in many ways, it's, you hear stories where I've been, like, working in this particular job and I can't stand it, but I get through it every single day. People who are just living day to day and just getting by isn't good enough, specifically after COVID. The pandemic, that like, people, like, there's something that it's like, it's not enough anymore. And so the feelings are real. What people are feeling now, I don't feel happy right now. I don't feel like I should be in this environment. Like, slowing down is something that's very hard for most of us to do. And the pandemic gave us the opportunity to do that. So when tackling those limiting beliefs, it's not necessary. We've suppressed a lot of the things that we really want, but we're so distracted that we don't look at it. But when we actually start to listen to it, we realize that there's so many different stories that we've told ourselves to not go after what we want.
Wow.
I know that's a lot, but it's a lot of information. But I think that, I understand now, with these tackling limiting beliefs, that it is, things that we have been either taught or that we actually accept and put into our life. We, are in control of our subconscious mind. We are in control of it, and our subconscious mind, for those, without getting too scientific and talking about all of that, but to really look at the fact that, we are, whatever the subconscious mind is being told, our minds will take that information and believe it. So if you tell yourself that you are not worthy every single day, that part of your brain will believe it, and you will walk around with a very low vibration in the world. If you have the opportunity, if you recondition yourself or reprogram that part of the mind and tell yourself that I deserve this experience, I deserve opportunity, at some point something will shift. But where people in many ways don't have the patience to stay consistent, to really go after that, because it's work. Right, Jennifer? It's work to work on ourselves every single day. Self-development, I love it, but any client that I work with, any company that I work with, it's building in, it's learning how to take new structure, new ideas, and then and constantly keep working on it to get the results that you want. So we hear it and we know that we need to do it, but it doesn't interest a lot of people because change for most people is not exciting. It's like, oh, like I don't want to change again. I don't want to learn a new software. I don't want to learn how to, communicate differently. I just want to do it, get by, go home, and just like disconnect from everything in the world. And so I've just chosen not to do that. I've chosen to, God, it's exciting to change. It's exciting to learn new information, get in, to be educated and to be in communities that speak different languages and go, wow, like, thank you so much for sharing. You've just helped me understand it from your perspective. And now I can, connect with different types of people even better. So, yeah.
Yes. And so when you're talking about suppressing those beliefs and suppressing the things, our potentials that we want to do, right? Because we're full of different potentials. Which ones are we going to activate? And when we were given the opportunity to actually reflect on that, there's some avoidance, right? I don't want to look at that. I'm like, oh, I had no idea that was even there. There's also this kind of denial that goes on too, right? Things that we were held unconsciously or that we weren't really aware of or that we fail to notice that comes up. But then as we have that kind of denial, we're also denying ourselves those potentials, those opportunities to grow from that, to really look at it, accept it or not to judge it, but just to see what's there and how we want to use that information. How does that inform our life path? How is that going to help us grow and evolve? And what direction are we moving in? And all of that's just taking up valuable real estate in our life. And we talk about wanting freedom, right? And when we're holding on and constricting ourselves or restricting ourselves or limiting ourselves in any form or fashion, then we're not allowing ourselves those opportunities. We're not allowing ourselves to grow and to expand and to be able to experience that freedom that we're all wanting and yearning for, right? To feel that sense of freedom. You talked about feeling and what we want to experience, to even allow ourselves to feel what's there, to allow that to rise up within us. Because listen, people, it's already there, right? But how do you want to create with those different potentials? Which path are you going to choose? And you talk about, just getting by and surviving day to day. And there's an opportunity to be able to thrive. And so we don't want to limit the way that takes shape and takes form, because it's quite often in that shadow work too, that we begin to see the light.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the things that I love about being in BC and Vancouver, at that living there, was the fact is the number one thing that I did was I just listened, Jennifer. I listened when I was, that's one of the best ways of, to reset is, being with one of the, being nurtured almost by nature and being surrounded by it and just listening to what comes up and accepting what comes up is one of the most powerful gifts that you can give to yourself. Because and again, as you said, the shadow work isn't easy, because sometimes the things that you hear, you don't like what you hear. Mm-hmm. Right? And taking full responsibility to make those shifts and changes are not easy, but to experience a version of freedom, we have to go through that. So, yes. So one of the things in terms, again, that I suggest when it comes to tackling those limiting beliefs is, this was something that was told to me, years ago, and it forever stays with me. That, because we get, as human beings, we get distracted really easily, and it's, how do we sustain and maintain these new ideas so that we can really change? And yes. So the advice was, write down who you want to be. Now, say, for example, if you're looking for another partner or you're looking for like an opportunity, write down who is maybe the person that you want or the job that you want. But when you're writing that down, it's changing yourself first, almost changing the vibration of self first. If you're trying to attract a new mate or whatever, become that person first, and then they will find you. Yes. And I loved that, because it was such a, instead of always looking outside of ourselves going, well, they have to be like this, have to be like this, and then you have your list of things that need to get done about what they need to be like, but yet there's no work actually being done on self, and you expect this person just to show up, you're already going to be not in alignment. I'm looking for this type of employer. I want to make this type of money. We think that we want these things, but then when it's time to actually get the opportunity, energetically, we're running in another direction. We're not actually ready. So we need to, in terms of tackling those limiting beliefs, it's going and looking at creating that list and saying to yourself, I want to be like this. I want to be like this. I need to do this homework. I need to do this, so that when the opportunity comes, you're ready and you feel like you can match whoever it is that's in front of you because you've done that work. So,
yes.
so I really, I think that was just really powerful for me to understand, because when I did that work for myself, the clients that I want to work with, that I coach, the clients that I want to serve, they find me, because when I show up, they're like, I want to work with this person because they understand it. They understand it on a level that they can, he can help me in some way, whatever that may look like. And so that can't happen if I don't do the work. And so being a leader in many ways for me, Jennifer, was always, when I was going through my growing pains, my leadership was always, I was always questioning, how do I become an effective leader in the world? How do I do that? Like, I had to tackle those limiting beliefs and to go back into self-development and work on myself so that I can have a conversation with Jennifer and feel comfortable talking to Jennifer and not feel like I'm, the imposter syndrome, takes over and not feeling like you're enough. I'm done with that, right? So it's, I think that was really helpful.
I love that you're saying self-development rather than self-improvement, because it comes with a different frequency, a different vibration, and a different way of framing that. Because when we're talking about self-improvement, we're operating from a place where we're not good enough.
Exactly.
Right. But when we're talking about self-development, we know that we are, and then we're just continuing to deepen into the process of becoming more and more a fuller expression of who we are. And so I really appreciate that you're using that term. And what I hear too is really coming into alignment, taking 100% responsibility, creating conscious choices so that we line up with what it is that we're creating and wanting to experience in this life, whether it be at the right partner, work at the right people, have the right kind of job, and then coming into alignment with that so that we meet that opportunity and that it just comes to you. It
Absolutely.
Just comes to you that.
Exactly. And I think that that's where, when people talk about the law of attraction, like, what is this law of attraction stuff? And what do you mean? It just kind of happens. And so, but when you decide to go and get, a bit more profound with self, and discover what it is that already, that you said, that already resides within, when you start to really uncover it and then go out into the world and have new conversations with new people, you see how it works. And then I just got like goosebumps, because that's the magic. That's the magic when you go, oh my God, like, it's happening. It's really presenting itself. And Jennifer, I have days where, when I truthfully experience it, tears of joy, like, I will wake up, it'll come out of nowhere, and I'll just be like, just so grateful of the fact that what I'm putting out into the universe, I'm being heard, I'm being listened to, because of what I do every day and who I surround myself with.
Yes.
And then it's like you and myself, right? We end up going to an event, we come out of that event, we have our conversation, and then here we are today. And it keeps, right? It's so that synergy is, it always feels like magic, but it also comes from putting in that undivided attention or the work in order for it to really happen.
Yes, and that joy vibe that comes up as a result of all that, and that tears of gratitude. I mean, that's when you hear like that music too, that just touches you a certain way, and then there's tears. Like, there's just something that opens up. There's this release, that happens where you just open your heart, and it just pours out this joy, this resonance, this beauty, this glory of this life, the wonder of life that we're living here. that we consciously chose to come here and experience. And sometimes we can get caught up too much in the work, and then, that can create some blocks as well. So to allow some space for things to come to you, knowing what it is, making those conscious choices, and then having the faith, like you mentioned earlier, and the trust that you're on the right path and that it's all coming together. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It can actually feel how easy it is. And that's the magic too, right? Is like when it just shows up like that. But there is this underlying process that we've been talking about of awareness, acceptance, and action, right? That we are going through, whether consciously or unconsciously, we're going through that process. And when we're not aware, then there's nothing to accept and there's no action to take. And then there's that place of uncertainty or purgatory, and we don't know which direction we're going and how we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do, and that can be really unnerving. So being able to embrace your power to tackle those limiting beliefs, again, take you beyond anything you thought possible.
Exactly. And I think, what we as human beings, what happens is that when we're on that journey, of self, that we may meet other people that are not in alignment with some of the choices that we've made. So it takes the added amount of courage to be able to stay really clear and to make sure that what you choose, right, the path may feel, maybe, I don't know what, again, so different, but it could be, may feel lonely at times. It may feel like you're not understood. You may feel like you're being, a marginalized voice that's being disrespected in your workplace. Yeah. And so, but to come back to, and this is the thing about, I wanted to talk to you about this today because my belief system. So I recently got COVID, and you don't know until you know. So after I went to the actual event, I came back and I think I got it I was around a lot of people, and so when I got back, a couple of days later, I started to experience some of the symptoms, and so I tested positive. I was like, okay. And it was, in the beginning, it was brutal. For the first 2 days, I was like, what's happening to me? And my mind was cluttered. Like, it was so foggy. I didn't recognize who I was. Like, I didn't feel like myself. And in that moment, I realized this is when it really counts. It's what all of the teachings and the things that I've done. How do I challenge? Because my belief system, believe me, it was not what we're talking about today. I started to question things. I was like, what's the point? There was like, everything started to feel heavy. Do I need to fight back? I don't know if I could fight back. Like, it was a whirlwind of emotions that, in the world of self-development, where this is kind of like, we're like, yeah, like we can almost like celebrate the fact that happens. You know what I mean? Because in that moment, you realize, I need to do this work. And so as time went, time went on and the symptoms started to, alleviate, and then I was negative and got out of it, I'm grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for what it put me through and how it made me slow down, how it made me disconnect from work, how it made me to really, to self-evaluate in areas that I want to improve personally. All the different things that need to, that needed to happen, because I hadn't been sick in like 4 years. That, of slowing down in that moment really helped me understand where I am and where I need to go.
Yes. And
so it doesn't matter where you are in this journey, and right, even though I coach others and people to identify areas of greatness in their life, no matter where you are, you will be challenged at some point, and you need to take that information that has been given to you, apply it so that you can come out like a champ. And so it's really, it's a benefit. I mean, like the benefit of even getting of getting COVID and transforming that belief system that once was there, that left me for a period of time to come back. That was incredible.
Amazing. And that's what I see as the journey of transformation too, is when we go through that awareness, then some kind of rite of passage, like contracting COVID, for example, and everything that it led you to do and think deeper into, and then that rebirth that comes out of it. And yeah.
You know,
And
and
it's
I
really a
think,
journey of authentic empowerment, more and more, you know. Yeah.
no, it's a beautiful thing when we can actually embrace. That's one of the things in faith, and you know, it's embracing illness and being able to know that it's an opportunity to become stronger when it arrives. So
Yes.
so it doesn't feel like it's always like, oh my God, like for me, or getting into this victim state of like, why does this have to happen to me? Why do I to go, awesome, okay, here we go. Let's take on this challenge, even though it's not, you know, nothing easy about it. But you know, but it's also, there's something incredible of being able to go, I overcame it. I looked at it in the face when it happened, and I benefited because my attitude, no matter what, was still in the right place. So it was,
Yes.
it was, my attitude sucked, but when I got out and I decided, this is, you know, the reminder of, wait, no, this is where it gets tricky. Get back on track. And when I fought with that attitude, everything started to just leave my body. I feel like twice as, you know, just quicker. Like things started to just get, like I just started to like bounce back quicker, and things started to, you know, wasn't, yeah. So it was an interesting experience.
Incredible. It brought you back into alignment.
It really did. It really
Yeah.
did. And to be able to share that, you know, for others who potentially go through the same thing.
What else do you share, Michael, in your work with people and in your optimal living summits? What do people get to experience with that?
So the business is very much what we do, Jennifer, is we provide 4 different services. And so one of the, and you know, I'll quickly go through them just to, you know, to get people to understand the, you know, there's nothing really like it. It's an agency. It's an agency that has 27 experts that really from a diverse background. And so I, as, you know, one of the, I guess, you know, lead coaches in the actual agency, you know, I know what I do best when it comes down to life coaching and helping people to transform things into, you know, what they're looking for, and to just really do really clear assessments of understanding how, you know, my job, Jennifer, is to get somebody from point A to point B to point C to point D. That's my job. Right? That's what I do. That's what I do. And I'm happy about that, because we get results with the relationship that's being built.
Yes.
So if I can't do something, say, for example, you know, a client or somebody comes to me and says, Michael, you know, I'm really suffering with my sleep. Well, there's an expert in the agency that really specifically deals with sleep, and she's, you know, she's incredible, and she works with them to get them the best results. So there's an exchange happening in the agency. And so we represent people that really essentially take them, you know, again, it's whether it's keynote speakers, whether it's life coaches, you know, again, that diversity is all about a support system or community that that people can work with. And so when that, so we, you know, the agency exists, and then we also take care of retreats. So, you know, this year, now that, you know, the pandemic is just kind of slowly getting out of our way, you know, we're doing something in Montreal this year in the month of November, where we go away for 7 days and we work with different facilitators to help people to really transform. And so with that attention and being disconnected from their, you know, the reality, the results are incredible, because, you know, we're that powerful as people. We don't need, like, you know, I think you were saying earlier on, it's like, it's that quick, it's already there. So when you get to zone in there and you work with it, you know, we provide a space and place and an experience where people can, you know, really help themselves. So we do retreats, and then we have online wellness programs that are available for people who can't necessarily make it, and that they can work on themselves and you know, just do a staycation at home and work on their wellness, because it's imperative. We all need to work on ourselves in some shape or form. And then again, I have wellness products. We have a wellness collection that is very much a, I would say the products aren't there, Jennifer, just as this is a really nice candle. There's purpose associated with every product. So when people use it, it's really, here's how I start my day. There's there's instructions how to use the products throughout the actual day to give them results. So everything within the agency is interconnected, and people never feel like they don't have anywhere to go. If they're starting with the products, they can it'll connect them to the actual program, to the agency, and right. So the thought process behind it It's been many years of how can I solve people's problems? How can we get to the root of some of the things that people are stuck and they don't know where to go? And so those are the different platforms that we provide.
I love how you're raising the vibration of the planet through all of that. It's really like a one-stop shop, right? To be well and to live your optimal life. And there's so much support there and tools and tips and to really guide and inform one's path of how they can live their best life.
Absolutely.
Michael, do you have any other final bits of wisdom that you'd like to share?
I think that it's, here's the deal about mental health and wellness is what I've learned, Jennifer, is we have to invest in ourselves. We have to, it's so easy to push it aside and just like, I'll get to it, or, I'll figure it out one day, or it's just gonna, it'll happen, or I just want to encourage, any of the listeners today to, don't take yourself for granted. Don't, whatever it is, put yourself first, even no matter what's going on, start with self, see what results you can get, because, one little obstacle can change your whole life. You get deterred from one thing and your life could look completely different. But when you stop and listen and you realize I'm worth it, I'm worth my own personal development of self, it's incredible what can change along the way. So yeah, it's invest in yourself, never give up, and keep seeking, because it's a beautiful thing.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. And don't take yourself for granted. I thought that was quite powerful too. Yes. Well, it's been such a delight having you here. I can talk to you for all day, hours and hours. And I think all of you who've been listening and watching here on the Wisdom Speakers and Seekers podcast, if you like this, then rate it, follow us for more wisdom that can help to embody your truth, activate your soul's calling, and just inspire and motivate you to get more out of life and to be more accepting of all that you have to offer here. So thank you so much for joining us today, Michael, and thank you to all of you who've been here as well.
Thank you, everyone, and literally stay optimal, because you're worth it.
Right on. Bye for now.